6 months ago, I bought my first eMTB in the form of the Velotric Summit 1, and I spent the last 6 months exploring the trails of Western Washington. I've had a blast racing down the mountain trails, seeing my heart rate spike, tracking my increasing performance with a Garmin bike computer, and recovering from pedal damage to my legs. I now have shin guards to protect my legs. I'm learning some lessons as I ride. But for the past month, I've been enjoying the local forest around here in Western Washington with an eMTB that takes everything that I've had to the next level. Hello everybody, this is Matthew Miller, otherwise known as Palm Solo, and thanks for visiting the Mobile with Matt YouTube channel. I appreciate your views and support and questions. So the folks representing Canyon sent along the Canyon Neuron ONfly CF7 in space gray. Now there's multiple colors and different sizes and everything else. This is the only color available in the United States. This space gray, as you can see in here and in the pictures in this video. So with my height and my inseam, the large size bike was the bike that was the best fit for me. So make sure you go through the website and see what size bike, because there's a host of different sizes for different body types and sizes. The first thing I noticed when the box arrived was how light the big box was, especially for an eMTB. My Velotric Summit 1 weighs in at 62 pounds, and that's quite heavy for an MTB. In stark contrast to that, the Neuron ONfly here weighs in at only 45 pounds and is one of the lightest e-bikes I've ever tested. I can even pick it up with one arm and maybe another one to balance it. But it's a very lightweight bike because it's made of carbon fiber. Even the Canyon box was a bit unique, with dials to be able to unlock the top and the bottom. Along the top were the accessories, the tools, and everything else. The bike was easy to pull out, and I just jumped right in and put on that front wheel with ease, thinking that that's what I would do, but until I read the directions and it said to first attach the handlebars. But with a bike that doesn't have a kickstand, putting on that front wheel gave me a platform to stand up to and also be able to adjust the handlebars to where they fit me best. The tools for adjusting the handlebars are included, including a torque wrench to make sure you get those screws on there just right. After adjusting the screws and putting on the handlebars to exactly my fit, I then had to move on to attaching the dropper post. And that was the one that took me a little while because I've never used a dropper post before, so attaching that in the right position took a little bit of guiding through the manual and then attaching it. And of course, the last thing that you want to do when you're putting the bike together is to put on the pedals, and those were pretty simple. Just make sure you get those aligned perfectly and don't strip those out. As is typical for my reviews, let's start off with some key specifications of the Neuron ONfly CF7. Which is the model, as I mentioned, is only available in the US. It has to have that carbon fiber frame that weighs in at 45 pounds, and the capacity of the bike is 286 pounds. So with my 235 pound weight, there's plenty of room there to grow if I needed to. It has a 400 watt Bosch Performance Line SX mid-drive motor here, and that does have a 600 watt peak on that motor. The motor provides 55 Newton meters of torque, and you know, the Summit 1 that I have, I believe it's 90 or 100 Newton meters of torque, and I thought seeing something at 55 Newton meters would be a detriment to my riding, but that's just not the case. This mid-drive motor and the gearing that's on this bike helps me easily get up the hills, no problem, so that 90 Newton meters versus 55 Newton meters wasn't a big deal at all for me. The bike also has a Bosch Compact Tube 400 battery with the option to install a PowerMore 250 range extender for longer battery life if you need it. The front suspension on this is a RockShox Pike 140 millimeter travel, and the rear shock is also from RockShox. It's the Deluxe Sex Select Plus shock with 130 millimeters of travel. The rear derailleur is a Shimano Dior M6100 with 12-speed drivetrain. It does have a chain guard. It has an integrated chain guard to keep the chain from getting hung up. Has a 200 millimeter 4-piston hydraulic disc brakes on the front and back, and the brakes are excellent. Very touchy though in the wet conditions, so be careful that you won't stop and slide. Both wheels on this bike are 29-inch wheels, but the front wheel is a Rode TRY P330 Evo with Schwalbe Hans depth tires, as you can see there, and the rear wheel is also 29 inches with Schwalbe knobby Nick tire on there. And the nice thing about this bike, so I put it in the back of my truck, I take it to the trails, and it has that Canyon quick quick see-through axle on there, so I can easily take out that front wheel and get it in the back of my truck, no problem. Another thing that I really like about this bike is the dropper seat. This is something that I do not have on the Summit 1, and as you can see here, I've got it adjusted for myself, set it down, push the button, and it goes right back up. This has really been a joy to ride with that dropper seat. It's my first experience with that drop seat post, so I'm looking forward to more of that testing. It also has a Visic Terra saddle, which of course, as you can see there, is a pretty minimal saddle, which you're only using when you're riding up the hill, so that's fine. Now, if we're looking at the controller on the bike, it does have a central controller right here on the frame, and it has a single button on the top, and you push that button just once to turn the bike on and off. And when you first turn it on, you'll hear the bike and the Bosch system coming up to speed. And then the top lights will show the battery status that you have on there. Also, up above the button is a light indicator that shows the level of pedal assist. And if you were to push that plus minus button once, it goes up once and then goes through all the different modes with pressing that. If you press and hold it, it goes down one. But while you're riding the bike, that's not really a convenient way to use it. You're going to use the mini remote controller over here that also has a plus and a minus, and single press of the plus and minus on that decreases it one level at a time. So it's very easy to use, and in my riding, I much prefer using the remote control on the left-hand side. So looking at the lights, when it's off, there is no LED, of course. When it is green, it's in eco mode. Blue is Tour Plus mode. Purple is eMTB, and red is turbo. Now, when I was riding on the trails, I usually kept it in eco mode or maybe Tour Plus, but I really didn't go to the purple and red modes, even going up some of the hills that I was at, because with the gearing on this bike, I was more than comfortable riding that bike up without a problem. And as I said, these lights down here indicate battery status level, and there's 5 different lights with blue and white, and they show you where you're at. There's also a Bosch smartphone application, Flow, that shows you the battery status, the range, the mileage that you've ridden in each mode of the bike, mapping, routes, detailed riding stats, and there's even more when you register the bike. Since this is a review unit, I did not register the bike or sign up for the Flow Plus premium features, because those are available to buyers of the bike, with that Flow Plus premium features available for 1 year if you purchase the bike. And then when you register the bike, you get other features and functions. So I wasn't able to test out all of those. However, I did like to see when I went out on the trails and to see what my experiences were on those. So speaking of trails and hills and everything else, let's talk about some of my riding experiences. And as people that have seen my videos before, I always start out coming into the neighborhood. Now, this is not a bike that I'm riding out on my commute and into the neighborhood, but I still tested it out on that 13 to 15% incline into my neighborhood. And of course, there is no throttle on this eMTB, so there's only a pedal assist mode. However, with that wide range of 12 gears and the mid-drive assist, it was very easy to ride this up that hill on a paved road. And I even tried to go over here in this steep hill behind my house to go straight up a hill that was even steeper than that. And it was the wet conditions preventing me from making it to the top, but I was able to easily get quite a ways up that hill thanks to the gears and the mid-drive. So hills are not a problem. Now, flat distance testing. I didn't spend a lot of time flat distance testing this bike because that's not what it's designed for. It's not a commuter. I'm not riding it all over the place and to work. But if you're going between trails, or sometimes you'll find yourself riding on an old railroad trail or something like that. So I did do some of that flat course testing, and of course it was a joy to ride, easy to ride, no problem at all. A couple times when I took this out on the trails, I didn't even have any assist mode at all. I did it with a no battery ride. So although this could happen if I'm out on the trails with no battery and I kill the battery if I'm not keeping an eye on things, it was fairly easy to ride this bike. Now, I don't know about riding the bike up super steep hills with no battery, because that assist is helpful, but this bike is pretty light, and I did put it into pedal assist 0, and with those gears I was able to get up fairly steep hills. So I could ride this bike as a standard MTB or an eMTB, and that eMTB just provides that extra oomph I need for the long day out on the trails. So now, this section I'm going to talk a little bit about the trail riding experience, because this is obviously an eMTB and it's optimized for those trails. Canyon advertises this as a bike that is optimized for the conditions really of what I experience here in Washington State. That means forest, single track trails, and not a bunch of loose, exposed rock that's out there. It was a blast to ride down through the forest and also along various skill areas of our local trail network. I quickly realized how much better this bike is than the Summit 1, thanks to that lighter weight, the dropper seat post, the mid-drive motor that gives me that assist when I need it, and when I put into it, it gives it right back to me, and the higher quality equipment. The shocks are excellent. Jumping was seamless. I'm trying to get a little bit better. I'm not that great at jumps, but with this bike, I had more confidence in my ability to control the bike and control it over jumps. I was also able to climb easier, and I never missed the throttle at all. Sometimes when I used the throttle on the Summit 1, a bike would kind of get out of hand on some of those upward areas, and now with just using pedal assist, it's up to me and pedaling to control that experience. Pedal assistance up the hills was excellent, with several levels of assist and a range of gears to move through. The 12 gears are a lot different than standard e-bikes that I've used, where this one is gears that are optimized for that climbing experience to get you back up to the top of the hill. Now, when you're looking at the positives and the fun, what can I say? The Canyon Neuron ONfly CF7 is an absolute joy to ride, especially for someone fairly new to mountain biking. Experiences like this are perfect for those of us that are new to the sport and who enjoy a bit of help getting back up to the top of the mountain. It's a fairly affordable eMTB, and the performance was superb. It is clearly not as light as an MTB and the people in my MTB class that I took, but it is much lighter than my Velotric Summit 1, and it is a great compromise for the person who wants to get out and enjoy the trails. Just about everything is perfect with this bike, but there's a couple things that do bother me. The plug design on this is a bit awkward, and it took me a while to get it lined up properly, and it's still a bit heavy for an MTB, but it is very light for an eMTB. Canyon advertises this bike with a regular price of $5,499, but the website shows it currently available for $4,799. So if you can get this at a sub $5,000 price for a high quality carbon fiber eMTB with high quality components and everything else that's in there, that is incredible. I started out my eMTB riding with the Velotric Summit 1, and after riding the Canyon Neuron ONfly CF7, I don't think I can go back to that much heavier Summit 1. It was a great starter bike, but this is taking things to the next level. It's a sheer joy to ride, and it provides me with everything needed as a fairly new mountain bike rider. The bike is available in a range of sizes, and after you get it, I highly suggest you spend time with the manuals that it comes with and customize the shocks and the dropper post for your weight and height for the best experience. The bike is so much fun to ride that I've been out riding more than usual, and the great thing about Washington State is that you can ride these trails year-round. So I'll get back out there a few more times while I still have the bike to test, and I think I'll soon be selling my Summit 1 to get my own Neuron ONfly 2. Thanks everybody for watching. Please subscribe and share, interact with me and ask questions. Thanks everybody for watching. Please subscribe and share, interact with me here, and stay tuned for more. May the mobile force be with you.